Hi, everybody. Um, this is going to be identified as your week 4 lecture. Um, I am sorry I needed to cancel class um, on Thursday. I tried to relate in my announcements kind of what was going on in my family, and I'm making this ahead of time thinking I may not have to use it, but I want to have it in case I do need to use it. Um, I am traveling um, to south of Dallas. My older sister has a great piece of property, about 30 acres out in the middle of nowhere, and she raises deer. She has a herd of deer and horses. And you might have heard something on the news, but Texas is really in trouble with their power grid, and my sister is without power. Pipes burst 3 places, flooded her apartment and barn, and anyway, she needs some supplies, water and firewood, and I'm gonna make that trip. I don't know when I will be back. I don't know when her utilities and the repairs will be able to be made. But she lives alone, and she's 68. She's much older than me. But I want to be there to help her. So anyway, if I do post this lecture, these the assignments that I'm going to make will be due in week 5. So the things that I will go over today and the assignments I make again will be due probably March 2 or 4. If I do have to post this lecture, that's going to mean that you won't have an in-person class the week of, it would be February 23rd and 25th would be the Tuesday, Thursday. So this will have to take the place of that. Okay, so that's just a little of explanation of what is happening. I will make an Aurelia 2 assignment and post it. I have not done that yet, but I will do it with plenty of time for you to complete it. I'll try to make sure you've got 6 days. That will be due week 5, again, March 2 or 4. I'm going to ask you to do Sing 2, which I'm assigning right now. That's going to be in chapter 7. It will be 7.8. As always with your Sing assignments, when you upload them, I want you to state the date, your name. I want you to identify the number that you're singing, the key. If it happened to be in minor, you need to tell me what kind of minor. And then I want you to sing the appropriate scale. The only thing I want you to play in the piano is the tonic. Don't play along through the scale or through the singing of the melody. Okay, there will be, I'm going to call it Dictation 3, but it actually isn't going to be a dictation. It'll be an in-class assignment that hopefully I will get to hear you sing on March 2 or 4, but it kind of involves dictation skills. I'm going to talk about that at the very end of this lecture. Okay, so those are the 3 things, again, that will be due for you week 5, March 2 or March 4 in class. Aurelia assignment 2, Sing 2, which is 7.8, and then this is your I'll call it Dictation 3. I will explain. It will be due just for class, okay? All right. So we're going to get out of chapter 6 and we're going right into chapter 7, which is actually one of my favorite chapters. I don't imagine that you will agree. unless you play an instrument or are very familiar with C clefs. But this chapter is going to get you familiar with those clefs. I would like to say comfortable, but I'm not sure that will happen. But at least you will be introduced to them. By the end of the semester, you will, of course, be singing melodies out of 4 clefs: treble, bass, alto, and tenor. Okay, so the first clef that they introduce is alto, which is the best clef. That's where I've spent most of my life. So I just want to talk about how to think about where the notes are in alto clef. So C clefs are called that for a very good reason, because they identify where middle C is in the clef by the placement of the clef and the type of clef. So in treble clef, some of you like treble better than bass, some of you like bass better than treble. In treble clef, we know that middle C is right here. And if I was going to spell a C major triad, we know that the first line would be E, so C, E, G, and then that octave away from middle C would be here, okay? If I was in bass clef, middle C would be right here, and if I was going up to spell a C major triad, I'd go C, E, and then all of a sudden, I've got 2 ledger lines. If I'm going to play a G, I've got 3 ledger lines. I'm not even going to try to play the octave above that, okay? So you can see how, depending on the range that you live your life in as an instrument or as a voice, you want to make placement on the clef that you're using as much as possible without the use of ledger lines, because they're very hard to read. Now, here is alto clef. So if you're wondering how to make it, you can just kind of do 2 lines, like a double bar, and then kind of make like a capital B. And the middle of the B is the very middle line of our staff, okay? So this is an alto clef sign. This middle line where the B meets is C. That is middle C, okay? So that note in alto clef is the same as that note in treble clef, is the same as that note in bass clef. So you can see it's much higher on the clef, since the range of, for example, my instrument actually goes an octave below this. My lowest string is an octave below middle C. That puts most of the notes in the clef, or on the staff, excuse me. For my instrument, I actually play much higher than that too, so I actually read in treble clef as well. But again, this is middle C in alto clef, this is middle C in treble clef, this is middle C in bass clef, okay? So, moving on to my next page. Here are the spaces in treble clef, F, A, C, E. That's really easy to remember. Here are the spaces in bass clef. Excuse me, that is not what I meant to say. What I meant to say is I was wanting to relate the spaces in alto. So again, treble, here's alto. The spaces are G, B, D, F. Treble clef, middle C is way down here, F, A, C, E. Alto clef, middle C is here, so this is the G below middle C, G, B, D, F. Now, if I want to do the lines in alto clef, then I've got F, A, C, E, G. The thing is, this F is a whole octave below that F. Okay, so I mean, it's an easy way to remember the names of the notes, but just know it's also an octave lower, okay? So, alto clef, spaces, G, B, D, F, alto clef, lines, F, A, C, E, G, okay? And again, just as comparison, this is the F below middle C, so this is that F, but you see immediately I get into trouble having to have too many ledger lines. Okay, middle C, and we know where middle C is in treble clef. Okay. Now, let's just look at a couple of scales. So, if I'm in G major in treble clef, this is the G below middle C, so I'm playing this note. Go ahead and sing with me a G major scale. Let's go ahead and solfege. Do, re, mi, fa, sol, la, ti, do, ti, la, sol, fa, mi, re, do. Okay, so you can see that's where it is on the staff. Now, if I wanted to sing a G major scale in alto clef, okay, we've got F sharp. This is going to be F sharp here. This is going to be the exact same G, okay? This is the G below middle C. We know middle C to be right there, the middle line. So go ahead and look at these notes and sing your scale again. Do, re, mi, fa, sol, la, ti, do, ti, la, sol, fa, mi, re, do. So, these sound exactly the same, but you can see they look really different on the staff. Of course, this is easier to read because we don't have these ledger lines to deal with. Okay, so I got you tonalized, mostly. In G major, I want you to pull open your book, and I want you to look at 7.1. So I'll give you a second to do that. Don't be scared. We're going to read down these, I guess it's 6 bars, okay? It's starting on that G. I know in your book they have note names. That's fine, but I think I'd like for you to sing it with me on solfege, okay? So this is the G below middle C. So here we go. 1, 2, sing. Do, do, re, do, re, mi, fa, mi, re, do, ti, do. It's this two-handed thing. I have trouble with it. So my rhythm was bad for a second. Okay, you just sang your first melody probably in your life in alto clef. Woo! Okay, look at example B. So now they've put that familiar tune, hopefully, in bass clef. So I'm not going to have you do it again unless you really want to, and you can put me on pause and sing it while looking at bass clef. These are exactly the same notes in these two melodies. This G is the G below middle C. This G in bass clef is the G below middle C. Okay? All right, let's go on to 7.2. So we're still in G major. You hopefully are getting that first space in alto clef is G. This tune starts a third above that, so it's got to be me. Okay? And if the first bass is G, that note name is B. And again, if you can orient yourself as much as possible from knowing that this middle line is always going to be C, that'll help you, because that first note of this melody is just one note below. If that's a C, that's got to be a B. Okay? All right. So this is Do. It starts on me. Sing me. Hopefully you sang this. Great. All right, let's sing 7.2. All right? I'll go ahead and sing with you and play. I'll try to do both things correctly. These are quarters. 1, 2, ready, go. Mi, re, do, re, mi, fa, sol, fa, mi, re, do, ti, do, re, mi, re, do, re, mi, fa, sol, fa, mi, re, fa, mi, re, do. Okay, so much for correctly all the way through. All right, so now you've sang your second melody in alto clef. We're going to go on to 7.3. Now, you don't see any accidentals in 7.3. So we're going to take a leap of faith and say that it's a major key. You do see one flat in the key signature. So what would the name of that key be if it was in fact a major key? I hope you said F major. So I'm going to take just a little diversion before we sing this. And again, here's treble clef. This would be the F above middle C. This is the F. See all those ledger lines that you have to use? This is the F below middle C. So here would be this scale. Go ahead and look at the treble clef scale and sing solfege. All right, here we go. Ready, and. Great. Now, look at the alto clef. We've still got that B flat. It actually is on the staff a whole octave below that B flat, but that's B flat. First line is F. So I want you to look at the alto clef scale and sing in solfege. Here we go. Same pitch. Ready, and. Okay? And again, you see how much easier that is to read. They're exactly the same note. Okay, so now you're all prepared to sing 7.3. All right? Look at the first note. You know now that that first line is F, and look at the last note. Same note, okay? So it starts on Do and it ends on Do. I'm going to play the piano through, and I want you to solfege, okay? These are eighth notes, all right? Here we go. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Good. If you look at the first note of 2 bars before the end of that, tell me what the name of that note is. 2 bars before the end, first note. Middle C. Yeah. Okay. Excellent. I'm going to do one more where we're just kind of looking at different clefs. Look at 7.4, please. And first of all, I want you to determine the name of the first and the last note. I'll give you a minute to do that. Based on what you've learned, the name of the first and the last note. So I'm hoping that you said G, because that's our first space in alto clef. Now, as we look at this melody, it doesn't have the right key signature for G, right? If it was G major. Furthermore, we see an accidental there in the second line. So most likely this is in a minor key. I only see one accidental, in other words, it happens twice, but I see an accidental on the note just below G, which I'm pretty sure is F. So that's got to be an F sharp, right? What key is F sharp the leading tone for? Give you a minute to think about that. I hope you said G minor. And if you think about it, let's see. What's in the key signature of G minor? Let's see. 2 flats. Yes, there are 2 flats in this key signature. If it was a major key, it'd be B flat major, okay? But again, you wouldn't see that accidental, that F sharp, okay? So this is in G harmonic minor because we only have one altered note, okay? It happens twice, but it's the same note, okay? So now I wrote out in treble clef, G harmonic minor. There's that G below, here's our middle C. So let's go ahead and solfege this, all right? Look at the treble clef one. Here we go. This is your tonic. Okay. Now, if we were looking at alto clef, there's our 2 flats, B flat and E flat. We're going to start on that bottom space, stare at the alto clef scale, and sing it again. And. Cool. Okay, let's look at 7.4. So, starts on tonic, ends on tonic. We already talked about that. I'm going to just play the piano part. I want you to solfege, all right? So there is that G below middle C. I'll give you, these are going to be quarters. So here we go. 1, 2, 3, 4. Cool. All right. So you have now sung in 3 separate keys. You have sung kind of 4 tunes in alto clef. Hope you're getting good at it. All right. So your assignment for Sing 2 to be recorded and due the week of March 2nd or March 4th is 7.8. All right, so the first thing you're going to need to do is look at it and figure out what key it's in. Okay, as I look at it, it's in 2/8. There's a lot of 16ths, so I would probably say set your tempo in 8s. So if this was 1, 2, 16ths would be 1 and 2 and 1 and 2 and. So take it nice and slow. It doesn't have to be fast. All right, cool. So here is the third part of this lecture. And again, this is not something you have to write on paper. I'm going to play a very familiar song. Okay? Hopefully you will all know what it is. There is one student from Arizona that might not, but this is a very dear song to the state of Kansas. And I'll tell you the name of it. It's Home on the Range, okay? So I'm going to play it in C major. And I'm going to play it all the way through. It'll be ABA. So you'll hear the first section, you'll hear the second section, and then the first section, the A returns again. What I want you to do for class is actually solfege. So a lot of you probably know the words to it. I don't need you to write it down. I don't need you to act like it's dictation, but what I want you to do is to use your solfege skills and be able to sing it by yourself in class. Again, March 2 or March 4 in solfege, okay? And you can write it down on a piece of paper, that's fine. But I believe it or not, I kind of think it's fun. Sometimes I'll get a tune stuck in my head and I will try to figure out the solfege. I don't know. That's my life. There is one thing I want to talk about though. So this is C major. We're all used to dealing with these intervals. Out of the tonic triad. That was a couple chapters ago. And the chapter we just got out of was intervals that are coming out of the tonic triad, or excuse me, of the dominant triad. This song is actually going to have an interval that's coming out of the subdominant triad. We haven't talked about it at all, but I'm going to give you a little help here. So here is your tonic triad. Just sing solfege. Now, sing the dominant triad. Here we go. No 7 chord. Now back to tonic. Now we're going up to subdominant, okay? So it's and we're going to go back to dominant and end on tonic. Okay, so this particular song does have an interval out of the subdominant triad, and I'm just going to help you out with it. So this is Do, and the interval is this. So count down with me. Do, ti, la. Now let's count up to this note. La, ti, do, re, mi, fa. So it's la, fa. Okay, so that's the one interval and chord implication that we haven't really encountered. But I'm sure you'll get it, and I just wanted to go over it. It happens to be a nice minor 6th, very pretty, and it always resolves down. Okay, all right. So I'm going to play Home and the Range Through, hopefully without too many mistakes. And I want you, again, as you listen to it, you can stop and rewind and listen to it again and just figure out what the solfege is. Okay? So this is tonic triad. So. All right. This is about the tempo I'm going to go. And I'll tell you, it starts on so. Okay? Here I go. Ready, and. Up. Down. Cool. That was it. It's a nice little song. And if you're hearing this, I'm going to be out on a range somewhere. But I'll stay in touch and let you know. It's very possible I'll be back. But if I'm not, you've got this lecture, and I'm trying to keep you active, introduce you to new material, and keep you working forward, okay? So we won't lose any time. Excellent. That's all I've got for today. And stay warm. It's just awful out there. All right. Bye-bye.